Welcome back to Zoom. So here we are continuing to show you what it looks like once we create a Zoom meeting. So here we are, it's Trish and I. Say hello to Trish. There she is. And we are creating this video because unfortunately from GoToMeeting, or when we use dual programs, we don't want the audio to interfere, so that's why we created a video for this. So I'm just going to show you the parts of the screen and where you can access certain things, and we're going to start on our top left. And notice, by the way, periodically whoever's speaking, first of all, has a yellow border around their window or their tile, and often all the buttons disappear. As soon as I move my mouse, they come back. Okay, so you see up here, we're going to start here at the top left. We also have our buttons along the bottom, which we'll talk about at the end. So starting at the very top, this circle here with the little eye in it, this happens to be where I could access the meeting if I wanted to invite additional participants to it. You'll notice a lot of times in the computer world, we can do the same thing in multiple places. So this happens to be a place that if I wanted to copy the URL and send it to somebody so that they could join the meeting, this is one of the locations I could do that. Okay. Next to that, we have this shield here. This is actually another access to our settings. So here are all the settings for my Zoom account. So this has nothing to do with this particular meeting. It's my Zoom account. Click here on General. I could click in the boxes. Again, we're not going to really linger too long in the settings. I just want you to be aware of where you can find them. Okay. So we have General, Video, etc. So you could take a look through there when and if you need to check out your settings. Moving along to the right side of our screen, we have a button here that currently says Speaker View. If I click on it, it means whoever the speaker is going to show up in the center of the screen, and everybody else is going to get tiled along the top. Okay? When I click Gallery View, it puts all the tiles in the center. Being it's just Trish and I, we just have the two tiles, the video tiles, but I could, if there were more people, it would just keep tiling along. And remember, in the free account, we can have up to 100 people in our Zoom meeting. So we would have really several tiles across our screen. We might even have to scroll over to see some of them. Just to point out, when I take my mouse pointer and I point at my screen here, my tile, I could mute myself, which then you wouldn't hear me, so I'm not going to do that. But you could do it if you wanted to mute yourself. It's another section to mute. I could click this little, the three little dots here, this button, and when I click on that, I have some choices here. These are choices that are going to be for the host. So again, if you're creating a meeting, you have these abilities. The participants are only going to have a couple of choices, which if I remember correctly, I think is pin video and possibly edit profile picture or add profile picture. So as a host, I could mute my audio, I could stop the video. There's some other features here that I could do. It is where I could change my profile picture, which we'll talk about the profile picture in a few minutes when we go down toward the bottom of the screen. Okay, so moving along, I'm going to come all the way over here to my far left again on the bottom, and the very first button I have here says mute, has a picture of a microphone. Notice right to the right of that button I have an arrow pointing up. I could click on this mute button simply to mute myself. So again, if you're not the speaker, and in our class we did ask everybody to remain muted, this is how you keep yourself muted. You would click on that button. But you do have some additional audio. I'm trying to click on, there we go. Some additional audio features here. So for example, if you're having audio difficulties, you could click on this arrow and you could check your settings. You can do a test, etc. So this is where you would access that. Okay. Next to that button, we have something that says stop video. And the reason it says stop video is because, well, my video is on, right? So if I clicked on this, you would then see Joey, that's my son, from like a million years ago. So I just turned my video off. This is the profile picture that I mentioned to you a few minutes ago. So if I wanted to change this, I could do it by going to these three dots here, and I could click edit profile picture. If you've never created or added a profile picture, it would say add profile picture. Okay? If I want to turn my video back on, I simply click the button and my video will come back on the screen. I also have here, there's Trish. I also have here another little arrow on this button. So we talked about the one on our audio. Now we're going to just show you the quick settings for our video. Okay? When I click on that arrow, notice I have here choose virtual background. You can see I have a virtual background, although it's not very good because I have a lot of books and things behind me, and so as you can see, it doesn't really cover that very well. I blame my computer really on that, but I have a partial virtual background. If I wanted to change that, I would go here to choose virtual background, and this is where the default backgrounds are. Okay, I could put none, or I could pick one of these. I could also add my own background if I wanted to by clicking this plus sign. And when I click on the plus sign, it would bring me to my computer files and I would be able to locate the picture that I wanted to add as my background. Okay. One other thing, so we went into choose virtual background. We also have here video settings. If I click on video settings, again, this is part of my settings. I could have seen this by clicking on my settings button at the top left as well. But they give you quick access to it from the arrow on your video button. So when I'm in video, again, you're going to take a peek through here on your own if needed. Notice I have touch up my appearance. It's not doing the greatest job. So this is something I could turn on and off. You'll take a peek through here, you know, as you go. You know, you can check your own settings out. All right, but this is where we could access it quickly. Again, there's always multiple ways to do the same thing on the computer to make it easy for us. Moving over here, we have here our security button. Okay, when I click on this, please know I am the host, so I have a lot more security options than the participants would have. I have the ability to enable the waiting room so that nobody can get directly into the room. I could lock the meeting so we can't allow any other participants to come in, maybe if it's past the time. I can decide if a participant is able to share their screen, chat, etc. So as the host, these are all things that I am able to do. I can also remove a participant, so behave. Just kidding. Okay, so that's in my security section. Moving toward the right, the next button we have is participants. So if I click on participants, it's going to show me on the right side of my screen everybody who's in this meeting. So currently, it shows me at the top as the host. And if you notice, the microphone is moving up and down because it hears me. I'm not muted. And right next to that's also another access to my video button. When I point at myself, notice I have, again, I could mute myself here, but I also have the choice of more. When I click on it, all I could do here is edit my profile picture. So again, another place I could edit my profile picture, which is, I showed you the picture of my son Joey before. I could also, when I click on Trish, when I click on more for Trish, I have some other options here. Make host, allow to record, so I can allow different things. I can change Trish's name. When it says rename, that means I could change how her name appears on the screen because I'm the host. Okay, so that's what you find in the more button when we look under participants. Underneath, again, we can invite other people to our meeting. We could mute everybody or we could unmute everybody. And I just want to take a peek again. So this is just reiterating some of our security measures for this particular class when we click on this button with the three dots. Okay, so that's our participants. I can click on the participants button again to close that if I wish. The next button is our chat button. This is where we would like everybody to put their questions so that we make sure that everybody's questions are answered. You would hit the chat button. Down here is where you're going to type your questions. Notice right above that it says to and it says everyone. So that's kind of a nice feature. Again, if you think it's something everybody would benefit from, you would leave it on everyone. But if you wanted it to be to somebody specific, like if I wanted to send something, a message to Trish only, I would click on Trish and whatever I type here, as you see, would be private. Okay, so you do have that option when you're typing a message in here. So if I said, I know I'm really not very creative right now, so I just did that. I added that message, and I did leave it to hi everyone. And oh, and Trish also sent a message. Nice. Okay, so it just will show up here. Again, for our purposes, we do this and we always monitor this as we do classes. But this is how you would use your chat window. Okay. Again, if I click it again, it disappears. I can always refer back to it. Oh, look, I have a message. Look at that. She's very well. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to close that. And the next button that we're going to talk about is the share button, share screen. When we share screen, so throughout this whole class that you've been in, I have been sharing my screen. So we've been going over our PowerPoint. I'm actually sharing my computer screen with all of you. So when I click on share screen, come on, there we go. In Zoom, it's going to say to you, it knows whatever windows I currently have open. And if I wanted to share my PowerPoint, I would click on this and click share, and that's how it would know to share that. If I wanted to share my internet, my browser, I would click over here, it would share my Google. Whichever one of these windows I click on, I would then click share. It will show me everything I have open. So if you don't have anything open yet, it's only going to show, maybe your Zoom app. So as far as Zoom goes, whatever windows you have over, those are your choices to share with the group. I'm not going to click that right now. So that is how our share screen button works. You also have the option to record. So when you know you're going to be having a meeting or you're getting together with friends on here, if you wanted to record it because for whatever reason, you could actually click the record button. What happens is it gets recorded and it gets stored on your computer. So you can always refer back to it, which is pretty cool. The last button here, or second to last button, is called reactions. If I click on this button, I could give myself an applause, or I could even give myself a thumbs up. Oh, it's really not for me. It's really for whoever's speaking, but since I'm speaking right now, it seems funny. So I could do that. They only last a few seconds, and then they disappear. Again, it's just for fun. After those buttons, that's really all the parts of the screen. The final button is the end button. This is the button you would click when you're done with your meeting and you're finished. Remember, if you are using the free account and you have more than 2 people in your meeting, it will automatically time out after your 40 minutes. You could always go right back in to finish, but as long as you have one of the premium accounts, which I believe start at the $14.99, it wouldn't time out at all. So when you're finished with your meeting, you would come over here and you would click end, and that's how everybody would end up coming out of the meeting. That concludes our video on scheduling a meeting and the parts of the screen. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk soon.